Welcome, everyone. Dr. Anthony Criniti IV here, also known as Dr. Finance, and you're in the Dr. Finance Live podcast. We've got an amazing guest today, folks. His name is Dr. Delatorro McNeal. He's a protege to the great Les Brown. He's one of the greatest speakers out there on the market today. And as far as I'm concerned, he might be the next Hall of Fame speaker. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Delatorro McNeal. How are you, Dr. Delatorro?
Doing phenomenal, man. Thank you so much, Dr. Finance. It's such an honor to be here with you, my friend. We're going to have a powerful time today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Delatorro. Appreciate you. So real quick, I like the way we do this. We do a quick snapshot. We'll do like 30 seconds. Just tell us about yourself. We'll get into your story for about 20 minutes. And then I usually only got 15 questions. I got about 25 questions for you. I was just listening and researching you all week, man. I'm like, this guy's incredible. So we'll start with the quick, maybe 30-second snapshot if you want to tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. So a Tampa native, born and raised in Tampa, Florida, and I love what I do for a living. I'm 45 at the time of this broadcast, and Dr. Finance this year, 2023, makes 20 years, brother, that I've been full-time as a speaker. I've been in the industry 23 years, but I've been full-time for 20. And so that's pretty remarkable, man. There's not a lot of people who start a full-time career in speaking at the age of 25. And we did, and we've been full-time for 20 years. It's been an absolute joy. And so I travel all around the world. I'm a globally respected peak performance expert, convention keynote speaker, Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author, and I actually mentor and coach aspiring speakers, authors, and coaches. So it's been amazing. We've written 8 books. We've done television all over the world. I've been on NBC's The Today Show 5 times. Our latest book is done just bananas. So we're really, really excited about that. So not only am I grateful for the work that we do, but I love the fact that we've had a chance to mentor and coach so many other people to get into this industry as well.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorro. Appreciate you. Real quick, let's start with your story. Actually, not real quick. Let's take our time. Let's get to know you. So where were you originally from? I believe Atlanta. And if you want to tell us about the first 10 years.
Yeah, man. So born and raised in Tampa, Florida. And so I'm a Tampa native, and I'm a father of 2 girls. I've got 2 daughters, Miracle and Hope, 17 and 15 at the time of this broadcast. And so I'm very, very grateful to be their mentor, their coach, their therapist, and their father, right? So it's a really, really cool thing. But yeah, man, I was born and raised right here in Tampa, Florida, and I was labeled an at-risk youth in the 5th and 6th grade. Told academically I didn't have much potential. One of the things that I love about my story is that I really am one of those people who kind of was very, very, I believe there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. There's only team-made millionaires. But I really do believe that God has uniquely gifted us. We had a lot of different challenges and disadvantages kind of growing up. I grew up in a single parent environment. My mom raised me predominantly. My dad is amazing. I'm named after my father. He's my best friend. My father served our country proudly in the Vietnam War. And my dad could have sat back on a government check his whole life after getting shot in the upper back twice and left paralyzed. So my dad's been in a wheelchair longer than I've been alive. And my dad could have sat back on a government check his whole life, but he decided to one day lead the same organization, Dr. Finance, that rehabilitated him. And my dad became the national director for the Paralyzed Veterans Association of America for over 10 years in Washington, D.C., wow, creating policy for disabled veterans all over the world, advocating for veterans all over the world. I remember I used to help my dad write speeches that he would give to Congress. It was really, really amazing. And so my father's taught me about determination and fortitude and not quitting and not giving up no matter what challenges life hands you. And my mother taught me the gift of speaking. My mom was a Sunday school teacher and an English teacher. So if you were going to be Olivia's kid, you had to be able to talk. So I really got the gift of speaking and communication early on. And then I cultivated that gift in college. I went to Florida State University, and I got a bachelor's and master's, 2 degrees in 5 years with a 4.0 and no debt.
Wow.
From Florida State. And my master's degree is really what I believe kind of uniquely gifted me for the speaking industry, right? Watch this, Dr. Finance. I knew that I wanted to one day be a speaker, but I was like, okay, well, how do I make sure that I have something really powerful to say when I speak? So I decided to major and get my master's degree in curriculum design, instructional systems design. And back then, I mean, I've had my master's for 20 years now, but back then, like distance learning, online learning, curriculum design, instructional systems, right? All that was very new terminology 20 years ago. So I was like, okay, what is this kind of unknown major? But the military uses instructional design for creating all of their training and development. So I was like, okay, training and development, that sounds good. Being able to create and craft curriculum and content, that sounds good. Let's make it happen. And so that's what my master's degree is in. And man, I came out, worked in corporate America for 1 year and got laid off. I thought I was going to have a 15, 20-year career in corporate America. That's not the way life worked out for me. I worked in corporate America for 1 year and I got laid off. Then I worked at the University of South Florida for 2 years doing public speaking training. So I was a public speaking trainer. I gave presentations. I taught public speaking at the university level a year and a half after leaving Florida State. And I knew that I had a gift. So I got involved in Toastmasters and I started competing in Toastmasters. And then I joined the National Speakers Association and boom, it kind of took off from there.
That's amazing, Dr. Delatorro. So you're a Florida guy. I had you all wrong. I thought you were, I was bunching you in the Atlanta crowd, but
In the Atlanta crew, yeah.
you're more or less living on the beach and right? Like, so what was
Yep.
growing up there? Were you a beach guy doing
Love the
surfing and all that
beach,
stuff?
love the water, and I'm a Cancer too, so I'm a water baby, man. I love the water. I love the beach, the ocean, boating. I love jet skiing. I love boat towns and all that stuff. So it's a vibe for me indeed.
That's incredible. Well, thank you, Dr. Delatorro. So if we start the first 10 years, like what were you as a kid though? Like any stories you like to share? Were you an entrepreneurial type of kid? And I find that very interesting, by the way, that you grew up. So this really explains a lot about how you became into speaking. Both your parents, you kind of had that angle to be a speaker, pushed from both sides in different ways, right?
Yeah, man. It was really amazing, right? So because like I said, growing up, being named Delatorro, you don't get that name without getting a lot I realized that I was very unique and very rare, very special, very different, like off rip, right? Because every substitute teacher mispronounced the heck out of my name, right? The first day of class was always hideous for me because every teacher would always mispronounce my name. So it's crazy. So
what does it mean, by the way?
So Delatorro means of the bull in Spanish, and that's actually pronounced in Spanish, Delatorro. So, so yeah, but it just means strength. It means power. It means determination, right? So we rock out with that. But man, I got to be honest with you. So things really pivoted for me in the 6th grade. When I was in the 6th grade, my first, and this story has actually made it to the main platform of Lakewood Church. Pastor Joel Osteen has told my story of overcoming an at-risk labeling 2 times in 2 different messages that he shared, and those loop all over the world, which is amazing. So I'm very grateful to Pastor Joel Osteen and Lakewood Church for how they continue to share my story with the world. But basically, when I was in the 6th grade, I met a teacher by the name of Miss Diane Williams, and on the first day of class, she said, "You're not a youth at risk; you're a youth at promise." And she said, "I want to mentor you and I want to coach you to be the best you can be." And she did. So, and instead of having 30 minutes at recess, she would give me 15 minutes at recess with my friends. And then I had to sit next to her for 15 minutes and she would teach me about life. And that was one of the greatest things that she could have ever done for me. And she taught me a lesson about potential. She said, as soon as you were dropped on this earth, your potential took off ahead of you. And the whole race of life is about you catching up with yourself and not the Joneses. And so she said, what I want you to do is I want you to always see a better version of you ahead of you than you see right now, and then catch up to him, catch up to that version of you that you see that's in front of you. And don't try to compete with anybody on the left and right. Just catch up to the version you see of yourself in front of you, and you will always outdo everybody else just by default. And so that was a powerful lesson for me. And so I began to start just having a vision of seeing myself more connected, more resources, more finances, more whatever. And I just began to catch up to that vision of myself. And by doing that, Dr. Finance, I began to start to outpace the competition around me, right? Not even intentionally trying to, just doing it just through focusing on self-mastery. And so that put me on a powerful journey. And I got to be honest with you, man, before I got to Florida State, my mom did one of the greatest things she could have ever done for me is she gave me quote books. I didn't like long novels in school, but bro, I loved quote books. And so my mom gave me quote books, and I would be walking up to the school bus and I would read a quote, and then I would practice expounding on that quote. So for example, one of the quotes that I would read is, pursuit is proof of passion. And so I was like, what does pursuit is proof of passion mean? And then I walked to the school bus. I would actually expound on what that means. So I can tell how bad someone wants something based upon how much pursuit of that thing that they're putting towards. So pursuit is proof of passion. I can tell how much you want a thing based upon how you're going after a thing. And if you're not going after a thing, that really tells me you don't really want said thing, right? And so I just began to start to do that. And I was like, man, okay, cool. And I started taking quotes like it's your network that determines your net worth. And I would take those quick little powerful one-liners and I would turn those into like little mini speeches. And long before Instagram, long before TikTok, long before, 30 seconds or 60 seconds of content meant anything, I was learning how to get what I call soundbite type, how to say a lot in a short amount of time. And so actually, Dr. Finance, my first book that I ever published back in 2002 was a quote book of 101 inspirational, motivational quotations and affirmations, because I really believe in the importance of saying a lot in a short amount of time. And so now in 2023, I'm known on the internet, I'm known in my live speeches for just dropping crazy bombs all over the place. Like one of my favorite bombs is, we have to learn how to celebrate our own uniqueness, because if two of us are the same, one of us is unnecessary. I'm gonna say that again. We have to learn how to celebrate our own uniqueness, because if two of us are exactly the same, one of us is unnecessary. And when we think about that quote, what it says is, the more I try to compete and be like anybody else, if people say, man, he's just like, or she's just like, if two of us are the same, one of us is unneeded, right? If you go to the store and you buy a pair of shoes and you get the box home and there's two left shoes in the box, one of us is unnecessary, right?
That is a
So
great analogy.
we have to celebrate our otherness. We have to celebrate our uniqueness. We have to celebrate what makes us powerful, right? One of my other favorite one-liners is make a difference in a dollar at the same time, right? I firmly believe that we're meant to make a difference with our gift and our talent, but we're also meant to make money with our gift and our talent. And I believe that once you master the ability to do what you do well, people will pay you well to do what you love to do. So you get to do what you love and get paid for it. So you get to make a difference and a dollar at the same time. So it's like, so I just learned to cultivate, Dr. Finance, these quick, powerful statements that pack a lot of punch in a short amount of time, man.
Delatorro, so that's amazing. So I commend you on that, because I read a lot of quote books too when I was younger, and now I'm starting to learn your style, listen to you on stage and stuff like that. So that makes a lot of sense. What you were developing was the hook, and I do this every week. I got to get a hook for each room, right? So wait till you see the hook I got for tomorrow night. So you get a hook, but the hook can be and Dan Clark, Hall of Fame speaker, told me, as a friend of mine, he said, there's a few ways you can start the speech. You can start it with a question. You can start it with a powerful statement, a quote, or something funny, right? So you're taking the quotes and you're flipping it into the beginning of a speech, and also the speech itself, the hook itself. I love that. That's great. And you did it at such a young age. So you were developing these skills like before you became a professional speaker.
I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. And I didn't know back then that that's what I was. Here's what I knew. I was born and raised a Christian. I was raised in a Christian household. I knew that I was drawn to really great preachers when they would come and visit town. I was drawn to their oratory, but I never felt like I was supposed to be a preacher or a pastor. So I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to pastor a church, but I'm drawn to oratorical excellence. I'm drawn to diction and articulation and enunciation. My mom, not only was she a Sunday school teacher and an English teacher, but my mom used to narrate gospel stage plays and productions. So she would be the voice behind the curtain, right? So most days after school, on the way home to watch Thundercats or the Smurfs, right? Let's go, babe. Let's go, Gen X, right? So on the way home from
we're not dating ourselves, are we?
at all, bro. But on the way home from school, man, I remember my mom would be like, okay, hurry up, get home, we got to change clothes, and then we're gonna go to play rehearsal. And I would sit and do my homework, but as I'm doing my homework, the background music to me doing my homework was listening to my mother narrate plays and productions. And so I would just hear her articulation, her diction, her enunciation, and it was just so crisp. And like at the dinner table, we had to use proper grammar, proper English, proper words. We couldn't curse. We couldn't use what my mom would call linguistic shortcuts. We had to really express ourselves and really, so she was big into that. And so, having that at breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, man, you just learn to develop a syntax a lexicon, a vernacular, a phraseology that resonates, right? Dr. John Maxwell wrote a book. He said, many people communicate, few people connect, right? So I was just raised in a household where connection was important, right? And so that kind of was my foundation. And so I knew I was going to be a marketplace dude because, again, I didn't feel like I was supposed to pastor or preach in churches full time. Now I do speak and I minister in mega churches all over the world. I have ordination credentials and I have ministerial credentials and all that stuff. But in the marketplace, in the business community, I don't really lead with that because the majority of the work that we do is in corporations, associations, conventions, and things of that nature. So it's been an amazing ride, bro. It just really, really has. But my parents played a huge role in my development, and my teachers played a big role in my development, and personal development played a big role in my development. And then once I left college, and I got out into corporate America, I immediately joined Toastmasters and I immediately joined the National Speakers Association.
Wow.
And both of those I remember going to my first NSA. This is a true story, Dr. Finance. Bro, I can't make this up. So true story, bro. So I go to my first NSA convention in like 2001. It was in Orlando. I was in Tampa. One of my mentors at the time was literally best friends with Les Brown. His name was Dr. Willie Jolly. So Les Brown mentored Dr. Willie Jolly. And then when I got out of college, I ended up meeting both of those guys around the same time. So I met Les because Les came to Tampa to do a seminar. And so I called his office and said, hey, can I sell his books? Can I just work his table? Can I just come and support? So they told me where to be, what time to be there, and I got there. Massive tip for anybody who wants to meet amazing people. Figure out when they're coming to town, call their office in advance, and ask if you can volunteer. Because most speakers, authors, coaches, influencers, whatever, while they have teams, not their entire team can't always travel with them all the time to every city. So they always need volunteers to help stuff, right? That's how I met Dr. Stephen Covey. That's how I met Dr. Maya Angelou. I've met so many amazing people just by volunteering to work their tables. It's unbelievable. Anyway, back to the story. So I do the event with Les, and then afterwards, before we take it back to the airport, he says, hey, I'm doing a training in Potomac Falls, Maryland, which is where he lived at the time. He said, come to my 3-day training. At that time, it was like $5,000. Of course, I didn't have $5,000. I just finished college. I'm like, what the heck is this? So I didn't have the money, but I ended up asking 4 or 5 people for the money, got it, borrowed it. And then I went up there. While I was up there, the first day I was at the event, Dr. Willie Jolly shows up. And they're both like going back and forth, bantering, laughing, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got Dr. Willie Jolly and Les Brown in the same room. And I knew at that point in time that my destiny was literally calling my name. And I get chill bumps every time I think about it. And Les said, he said, you have a special gift. You have a very, very special gift. I want to help you cultivate it. I want to help you develop it. So he and Dr. Willie Jolly both put their arms around me and started to cultivate the gift of speaking and doing it professionally. And that was my start. That was my beginning point, man. And
Les been your mentor since you were 24?
Yeah. Les has been a mentor of mine for 20 years.
Wow.
And so has Dr. Willie Jolly. Those two guys have just been massively instrumental in helping me understand the business side of speaking and how to do it professionally. And the National Speakers Association, I've been a member of the National Speakers Association for over 15 years. Jeez. And in fact, I earned my CSP designation, which is a Certified Speaking Professional designation, in 2011. So I've had my CSP designation since I was 33 years young, which is very young to get your CSP at that age. So it's a big deal, man. So we've won a lot of awards in the speaking profession. I'm very, very grateful, very humbled by that, and just excited about all the amazing things that have happened, man. It's been an amazing ride. Definitely challenges, definitely hardships, definitely unexpected curveballs, but speaking has always been really good to me. And that's because I really believe that that's what I was put on this planet to do. And here's what I firmly believe, and everybody needs to write this down. God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Say that again. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. A lot of times we think that I have to have all this stuff together before I can be used by God to do amazing things. God doesn't call the qualified, the people that have all the credentials. He qualifies those that he calls. So when you get clear about the fact that I'm called to do this work, just like how you, Dr. Finance, you are called to do this podcast, and you're called to do virtual training and presenting and delivering and interviewing the best of the best on the planet. You're anointed to do that. And so in spite of hardships or difficulties or challenges or pandemics, you soar, you thrive, right? You thrive on Clubhouse, you thrive in all these different environments, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. Why? Because he qualified the call. You're called to do this. And when someone's called to do what they do and they do what they do in that operating in that calling, man, you better look out, because there's no stopping. There's no stopping someone. That's just like Muhammad Ali. He was unstoppable. Why? He operated in his calling. Does that make sense? I mean, Truett Cathy operated in his calling, right? Zig Ziglar operated in his calling. So when we get clear about the fact that we came to this planet with an assignment, and when you find that assignment, you found your calling. Master the gift that it takes to cultivate that calling and do that thing every day, right? I love something that Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen say all the time. They said the problem with life is not that it ends so soon, but that we wait so long to begin it.
Yeah. Yeah,
We wait so freaking long. We wait till we're 40, 50, 60 to start living. Fuck that. Right? We worked 40 years to get to a place called happiness in retirement. But by then, most of our body starts wearing out, our patience has run out, and most of our money's run out, right? So no, instead of working so hard so that one day you can be happy, why not, instead of achieving so that one day you can be happy, why not happily achieve? Why not be happy along the achievement journey? Right. And so that's really what began my journey, man. And amazing mentors pouring into me. Tony Robbins. Oh my God. I've been to almost every Tony event known to man, and more than once, and he's been a massive influence in my life, because Tony taught me, Bless and Dr. Willie taught me motivation and the importance of being incredible keynote speakers on stage. I don't process Tony Robbins as a keynote speaker. I process Tony Robbins as a transformational just giant. He's just a machine when it comes to transforming people through the human experience. And so, and I love his bend and take on psychology and neurolinguistic programming and stuff. So Tony began to help me dive deeper into mindset, habits, neurology, neuroplasticity, neural pathways. Literally, how do we reshape the brain? How do we recondition the way we think so we can recondition our actions and can recondition the way we live our lives, right? And so I learned a lot about experiential through studying Tony's work, and then studying curriculum design. I learned a lot about experiential learning as well. It's so funny because this year I'm one of the keynote speakers for the for Influence for the National Speakers Association. So
wow.
I know what it's like to go to my first Influence conference as a nobody, couldn't even afford to go, walk the lobby because I couldn't pay to be at the conference, to now being on the main platform and being able to keynote one of the conventions and having speakers from all over the world, be in the audience as we get a chance to share the main platform. So it's so amazing, Dr. Finance, what happens when we commit to one course of action. One of the things that I teach people all the time is stop being a mile wide and an inch deep, and learn how to be an inch wide and a mile deep. Because the experts, the folks that are kicking butt and taking names, are an inch wide in their expertise, but they're a mile deep in their expertise, right? Look at what John Maxwell did with one word, leadership: inch wide, mile deep, 80 some odd best-selling books, right? Global television, everything, conventions, certifications all over the planet. Why? Because he went an inch wide, he went a mile deep. I think when we can pick what it is that we're meant to do, study it, master it, and go deep in that thing, we can become known as the go-to person in that thing. And that's an important branding lesson, because one of the things, Dr. Finance, that I see a lot of speakers and authors and coaches and influencers struggle with is they're trying to be good at 25 things. And when you try to market yourself as good at 25 things, you're a novelty act. You're not an expert. And people don't hire jacks, they hire masters.
Yeah, they don't know how to interpret that either. Like they're looking at like, what do you do again? Like, what are you? They're trying to figure you out. Everyone, they're always, look, people, they're running out of attention these days. They have a short attention span. So when they see someone's brand, they want to know, all right, well, you're John Smith, but what does John Smith do?
Exactly.
Like, if you don't want to tell me what you do, like, what do you stand for? What is the one word? Make me remember you, right? And if you can't, if you give them 25, they're all over the place.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, get rid of every title on your business card that's not bringing in 10 grand a month. If it's not bringing in 10 grand a month, get rid of it, because you're confusing people and it's diluting your brand. It's not letting you focus on, it's not letting people focus on what you really focus on. So come up with 3 things that you do best and focus on that. And then, I say this all the time. Here we go, more one-liners. I've never seen a tree come out of the ground with multiple trunks. Say that again, Dr. Finance. I've never seen a tree come out of the ground with multiple trunks.
By the
Okay.
way, I'm not reacting quick on that because I just heard you say that this morning in that Les Brown interview, and I already reacted to it. I was sat there for like 20 minutes. I'm like, whoa, that's what? And Les's face was like, oh man, I'm about to fall off my chair.
It bothers the brain, right? So
Yeah.
so when we understand, like, I mean, I'm looking out at my backyard and I'm like, there's like 25 different trees back there, all different tropical trees. Not a single one of them, none of them come out of the ground with multiple trunks. They come out of ground with one solid trunk first, then they branch out from there, right? Oprah Winfrey, her trunk was, she did 35,000 interviews.
Wow.
Faithfully. She did 35,000 of them. Then she had a magazine. Then she had a network, right? And movies and plays and all this other kind of stuff. Tyler Perry, same thing. Faithful with one thing. One character, Medea. One concept, stage plays. Long before movies, long before his own studio, long before networks, long before all that other kind of stuff came, he was faithful with one thing. What's my point? What is the one thing that you want to focus on, my friend? As you're listening to this, as you're watching this, what is the one thing that you've mastered, right? If scripture says he or she shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of living water. If we're going to be like a tree planted, what's your trunk? In business, most entrepreneurs understand this. You got to start with one thing, become known for that thing, and then branch out from there. But every branch comes back to the trunk, and every trunk is fed by its roots. So not only do we have to get clear about what our singular focus is, but we also have to get clear about what source are we pulling from so that we can stay nourished. And I think that's really, really important, Dr. Finance, that we encourage people to really focus on being that inch wide and mile deep so we can have incredible expertise and share our message with the world in a powerful way.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Delatorro. I appreciate you. All right, brother, we got to finish up your story because you're taking my questions away one by one. You're picking them off. I'm like, all right, I can't answer that no more.
He's like, boom, boom. He's pull.
I just crossed off a few right there. I was like,
oh man, that's crazy.
I love that quote. That's why I actually wrote it down as a question. It was just an incredible little saying, and just the whole topic where you can create a 10-hour conversation on it. So Delatorro, just finish up. So basically, in your 20s, you have a very easy story because you did one thing, and then like you said, and then you got to age 24. You focused on it entirely. You went a mile deep, and you stayed there the rest of your life. Like you're still there. So 20 years you've been speaking. You got a career. You were learning at the same time. You're being taught by Les and digging deep with Tony Robbins and all this other stuff. Yeah. Probably in your 20s and still to this day, right? You're still being a student and a mentor.
Man, the nanosecond I'm not on stage, Dr. Finance, I'm in the front row learning. I am constantly learning. I'm constantly studying. Every year I'm paying to be in the top masterminds. Every year I'm paying to learn new skills. I've given over 4,000 documented paid talks all over the planet. And so it's been an amazing ride, man. And I'm predominantly, a keynote speaker. Companies and organizations hire me to come in and keynote for them, et cetera, et cetera. And then some of them will have me come in and do more long form training, like half day or full day seminars and events and things of that nature. But my predominant model, speaking of trunks, my trunk was that of keynote speaking. I wanted to become one of the best in the world at that. And then as a result of that, I've branched out. I have my own conference called the Full Throttle Experience. It's a motorcycle themed success conference. I train speakers. I have a program called Crush the Stage, which is a 3-day speaker training program that basically teaches a 12-step blueprint to master the platform. People can learn more about that by going to crushthestage.com. But so hosting my own conference, doing speaker trainings, right? Doing media and television, right? And all these branches came as a result of mastering that one core gift, writing 8 books, right? So writing 8 books and then hitting the Wall Street Journal USA Today bestseller list. So a lot of people say, man, how long have you been a writer? Well, I don't really consider myself a writer. Even though I am a writer, I consider myself a speaker who writes. I'm a speaker who extends the message of my speaking through publishing.
That's funny you said. I'm sorry to pause real quick. I'm the opposite. Everything I did, I'm the complete opposite of you in that way. Like I was a writer, I was an academic, man. I taught as a professor for 10 years. I wrote
What?
these 3 books that went nowhere from academia, 6 universities, and I had to become a speaker 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Everything you know about me, man. Yeah, 2.5 years,
Whoa.
millions plus everything, all the stage, the clubhouse, like
Wow.
2.5 years. I never spoke. I mean, unless you count classrooms for 10 years, but
That counts, brother. Trust me, that counts. That's amazing, man.
we're,
But
yeah,
and even that's a lesson, Dr. Finance,
yeah,
right? Because so many people feel, okay, well, I'm not a this, or I don't feel like, listen, if you know, John Maxwell taught me this. Dr. John Maxwell taught me this. He said, listen, um, and actually Sister Act taught it to me first, and then I heard John Maxwell say it as well. In Sister Act, I think it's Sister Act 2, when Lauryn Hill was walking away and she's like, and Whoopi Goldberg runs up to her. She's like, are you a writer? She's like, well, no, I'm not a writer. She said, if you wake up in the morning and the only thing that you could think about is writing first, then you're a writer. If the first thing you think about in the morning is writing, then that's what you're meant to be doing, right? So I think a lot of us beat ourselves up because we don't have this qualification or this certification or this degree or this credential. And it's what you just said, bro, that's so freaking powerful. I've been doing this 20 years, but as soon as I'm not doing the gift, I'm learning the industry. I'm learning the craft. I'm putting myself in the rooms. I say this all the time. Write this down if you're taking notes, everyone. New levels require new lanyards. I'm gonna say it again. New levels require new lanyards. Well, Dr. Delatorro, what does that mean? Every time you register for a master class, a conference, an event, whatever, you're going to get a lanyard. You're going to show up to that conference. They're going to have your name on this badge. You put it around your neck and you wear it for multiple days while you're there. The people you meet, the conversations you have, the experiences you have are all really, really important elements and aspects of what it takes to take your life and your business to that next level. So new levels always require new lanyards. So constantly investing in learning and growth and development, but don't stall your ability to go out there and start making money with your gift, waiting to get the next certification, waiting to get the next training, waiting to get the next, no. And I think a lot of people do that. They say, okay, well, once I get this, that, and the other, then I will allow myself to go out there. No. Start developing the gift and start executing on the gift now and get better as you go along.
and Delatorro, we're speaking of that. Like, where did so what point did you fit in the PhD to become Dr. Delatorro? I'm just curious.
So the PhD, fantastic question, man. My PhD actually happened 2 years ago. So I was blessed and fortunate enough to connect with 2 really powerful organizations that were both underwritten by the United Nations and credentialed by the United Nations. And I was able to get an honorary doctorate degree in humane letters for my 20-year body of work in the personal development industry.
Wow.
And so it's been a really, really amazing. I had to submit letters and recommendation and all this stuff. And then I ended up graduating, and I actually spoke at the ceremony. I gave a keynote address at my own doctoral ceremony. And then a year later, which is so incredible, so a year ago, I had the honor of being the keynote speaker when Les Brown got his honorary doctorate. And I actually had the honor of putting the hood over Les.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. I was able to help Les. So, and if you know Les's story, he doesn't have any college training.
Yeah.
So for him to now get an honorary doctorate, also from the United Nations, to recognize his 57-year body of work in this industry, because he's 78 years old now. And so to recognize his body of work in this industry is absolutely remarkable. And like you and I were talking about this off camera, Les has been doing this 56 years. And, when I started training speakers through my Crush the Stage program and Speaking Business Mastery and stuff like that, he's like, man, he said, you're the best speaker trainer I've ever heard. He said, nobody can articulate how to learn this craft and learn the business better than you. And I think I credit Les for saying that, number one, but I also credit my background in curriculum design and instructional systems that teaches you how to create content, how to create frameworks, how to create learning modalities and experiences for people to be able to help people get the most out of a learning experience. And so that's been it's been a remarkable thing for me. So I'm very, very grateful.
So Delatorro, you've been doing this for 20 years, speaking all over the world. I mean, obviously you're at the highest level at this point. I mean, Les Brown gives you a compliment like he does and do it for an hour and 15 minutes on his show.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow. And I already knew this, but to hear that whole interview, I'm like, knowing what I know about Les, I'm like, that's crazy. That's great.
That's
But what point did you start actually catapulting? Like you had to go through this phase like everybody does. You go through cocoon, you're just learning and taking it in like a sponge. And what point did you start making the real money and you start getting gigs all over the world like you're doing?
fantastic question. That's a phenomenal question. So I'll admit, so the first, starting out at 25, I'd say probably probably took about 4 or 5 years. First 4 or 5 years of me being full time, probably sounded like my mentors. I sounded like Tony. I sounded like Les. I sounded like Dr. Willie, because those are the people who had influenced me the most, right? So I sounded like Dr. Miles Monroe, people who had learned so much from, right? And then it's okay in the beginning if you sound like those who you've studied, because it makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, you know, um, you know, garbage in, garbage out, excellence in, excellence out, right?
Mm.
So on Wednesday if you ate corn on Monday. I'll just pause right there. On Wednesday if you ate corn on Monday, right? Hello, right?
Take a long pause on that one.
Take a long pause on that one, right? So because what goes in comes out, right? So the metaphor is, if you're well studied and you're well versed, you're going to sound in the beginning of your speaking, writing, whatever you do, you're going to sound like the people you've studied the most like. I don't care if you're a podcaster. If you listen to 5 of your favorite podcasters, you listen to them for years, and then you start your own podcast, you're probably going to sound like them in the beginning. And then, to your point, you begin to start to kind of develop your own wings, right? And so for me, I'd say once I hit like 30, I was like, man, I found my groove, my voice, what made Dr. Delatorro unique and special and different, and what allowed me to create my own lane, my own quotes, my own phrases and my own statements. I didn't have to quote other people to still say impactful stuff, right? I was able to kind of find my unique deal, and I'll share an experience with you that was really one of the biggest game changers for me. This happened when I was like 35, really early in my career. I had a very amazing opportunity to be selected as the keynote speaker for the $1 Million Roundtable.
Wow.
MDRT, $1 Million Roundtable, considered to be one of the most prestigious stages you can get as a speaker. And very, very blessed to get the MDRT stage.
Was
And
that the event that broke you think? That made you?
I think it's one of them. Or so television helped a lot too. So television broke us into a lot of different, because I mean, I got on worldwide television relatively early in my career. So book publishing got us major media interviews. And so one of my books that I wrote, book number 5, was called Caught Between a Dream and a Job. And that book did amazing things for us. That got us on Fox News, NBC, ABC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that book came out in 2008. So that book got us a lot of, it was, for me, I think it was a combination of things. It was the media appearances that came from the books that we published, but then it was getting on some really prestigious stages as a keynote speaker. I think that's the other thing that helped. But it goes to a point. So when I went to Chicago to do my audition for the $1 Million Roundtable, there was 30 people in a big round conference room from all over the world. And they listened to my 39-minute keynote. And after my 39-minute keynote, they was like, Dr. Delatorro was amazing. It was phenomenal. You were great. It was like, this is going to be, we have one major critique, 2 major critiques. Number one, they said, you're going to be speaking to 10,000 of the top financial professionals from all around the world, from 80 countries. You're going to have to slow down a little bit, because as you speak, your keynote is going to be translated into over 80 languages simultaneously. So you have to slow down. That's number one. I was like, okay, cool. I got that. I'll slow my cadence down. Let's do this. What's number 2? This is the one that changed my life. Jeez. They said, Dr. Delatorro, we counted in your presentation, and you quoted 12 other speakers, authors, coaches, experts. If we wanted to know what they thought about this subject matter, we would have hired them.
Wow. That's crazy.
They said, I have chills all over my arm, brother. They said, remove all quotes of anybody that's living. Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Elon Musk. Remove all those quotes. You're only allowed to quote dead people. If we wanted to know what they believed, we would have hired them. We hired you because we want to know what you believe. Bro,
Wow.
changed my DNA at the cellular level. Bro. I'm like, what?
I never heard anybody say that. It's crazy. I've interviewed almost 10 Hall of Fame speakers so far. And never, this is an interesting conversation.
Massive game changer for me, bro. Because what it made me believe is they hired you for you, not who you've read, not who you've studied, not who you've admired, not who you've processed, not who you've taken their information, distilled it, and made it your own. They hired Dr. Delatorro because they believed in what Dr. Delatorro had to share about said concept. And so I went home, rewrote the speech, took out all quoting everybody that's living, right? I left Einstein in there, he's gone, right? I left Dr. Martin Luther King in there, he's gone, right? But I took out everybody else that was living, and I taught my principles. And that presentation helped me realize that the world agreed with me for 39 minutes on a subject of peak performance. And that was just revelation for me, man. It was just absolutely a game changer. And it really, really pivoted things for me in a big, big way. So that was a totally powerful experience for me. I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Delatorro, for sharing that. So if you want to bring us full speed ahead with your story, maybe another minute or two, and then we'll get into the questions. This is great. I appreciate you're doing great, Delatorro. Love hearing it. And I would have you on for like 4 hours, but I know we got a time constraint today, so we're gonna get it all done though. So thank you.
It's all good. So no, we're good, man. So for me, what was really an important shift and a pivot once MDRT opened and a lot of doors opened up for me for financial services, insurance, all this stuff. Once those doors opened up for me in a big way, I was able to really begin to start to get a whole lot more different types of clientele. And man, I mean, I speak for the top aviation companies in the world, pharmaceutical companies in the world, financial services companies in the world, medical pharma companies. I mean, you name it. It's just like, I just got back from Portugal. Like I was in Portugal like 3 weeks ago. I was in Lisbon. It was gorgeous. I'd never been to Lisbon before, and it was an amazing experience. And I spoke to 300 medical directors from all over the world. And I'm like,
do you incorporate traveling? Just sorry to interrupt you. When you go to these places, like the way I would see it is it'd be best to package. So if you go to Portugal, I'm going to speak for 2 days. I'll stay there for 2 weeks.
exactly right. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Is that what you do? I mean, that's smart.
Exactly.
You're doing it.
That's the smart way to do it. So absolutely, bro. So I stayed for like 6 days. It was amazing. Had a great time. Loved it. Get a chance to absorb the culture, meet people, build relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So it was amazing. I had an incredible time. And that's what I'm talking about. It's those relationships and it's those experiences, man, that really, really allow you to cultivate an incredible brand, right? And while you're in a country, go make 2 or 3 stops. And when you're in a city, make 2 or 3 gigs while you're there. That's what it's all about, man. So, and that's the beautiful part. And that's why I love something that Les says, God, dog it, doctor. When people, man, this changed my life too. So many people say no to opportunities. And one of the things that Les says all the time is he says, you don't know enough about your future to be that negative about yourself. You don't know all of the other doors that are going to open on the other side of this yes to say no to it. To be that bold to say no to this door, you're assuming that you're saying no to only that door. What you don't realize is that door leads to 3 more doors. Those 3 doors lead to 18 more doors. Those 18 more doors lead to 52 more doors. But by you saying no to this one door, you're turning down all that stuff. And so when Les taught me that, he said, man, you don't know enough about your future to be that negative. It changed my life and it taught me to say yes a whole lot more. Because by saying yes, it opens up a door that opens up 52 more doors. And so I think we have to learn how to embrace that in a much more powerful and profound way. You know what I'm saying?
That's brilliant. And just to add to that, like those 52 doors, who knows, one of those doors can be your contact of your life. The opportunity of your life is in one of those 52 doors. And that's it. You're made at that point. You're successful. Of course, it never stops. It's a journey. Perfection is a journey, but that could be something that can solve all your current problems with that path right there.
That's exactly right, brother. You're exactly right about it. Come on.
Delatorro, brilliant. And just to wrap up your story though, like I want to know, was there any, if you can define, maybe just demonstrate maybe one or two of your biggest struggles in your life that really made you who you are. Maybe it was something as in childhood, some kind of pain, because through our pain, our mess becomes our message, right?
Come on,
So
brother.
what was it? If you want to share it with us, by the way.
Bro, man, I'd be honored. So I'd love to say, Dr. Finance, that you've had a great resume of all the amazing accomplishments, but that hasn't come without hardship, man. One of the greatest hardships that happened to me literally, 10 years ago, man. My mom passed away 10 years ago. So I've been full-time 20 years, which means that half of my full-time speaking career, my mom's been gone. And she was the one that taught me this game, taught me this industry, and taught me the craft, right, at a young age, and the industry and SA and mentors and all that stuff taught me the business side of it. But I wouldn't have had a gift to cultivate without my mom. And so a lot of my biggest wins have happened in the last 10 years. And she hasn't been here to be able to experience a lot of this amazing stuff. I know she's up in heaven, opening up doors for me and hanging out with God and all that good stuff. But I miss her every day. That's why I talk about her in every interview. I talk about her in every broadcast, because she literally was way more than a parent. She was more than a mom. She was a mentor. She was a coach. And I feel like she had some intuition. She had to know that she was raising a superhero. And it's crazy, because I really believe, people who know me know that I really believe that I'm a superhero, bro. Like I really believe that I'm Optimus Prime. Not only do I make my audiences do this stuff in large amounts of people and audiences, but I believe I'm Optimus Prime. I believe that I'm a freaking transformer, and I believe that I'm the leader of Autobots, right? These good guys that are on the planet that are changing the world, leaving this world better. But man, I miss my mom every day, man, and even my father, who's such a massive mentor and leader and an inspirational person. My dad's been in ICU for the last 6 weeks, man.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, man. So he just had a health complication, but I'm watching him fight every day, man. I'm watching him fight, and when I go into visit him, I see my name everywhere, because I'm named after my dad. So when I look at his bracelet, and I look at his heart monitor, and I look at all the medications, and all I see is my name everywhere, and I'm just like, man. And I'm just talking to myself, my older self, and saying, Dad, keep fighting, keep pushing. We're gonna make it through this. I've never prayed so hard than I have the last 6 weeks, man. So my parents mean a lot to me. They really do. And another challenge has been, if I was to give advice to someone, who's seriously considering doing this industry, is you gotta, realize that your gift is going to cause people to be threatened by you for no reason. Um, doing this work at this level causes a lot of people to become insecure around their gift, especially when you've mastered yours. And so I would say pick romantic partners carefully. I would say pick friends carefully, because you really want to be with people who are secure and who believe enough in themselves. Because without that, people will pull you down. People will, because you're a big giver, they'll take advantage of that. I've experienced that. I've experienced people who are insecure. I've experienced people who they couldn't handle the light. Your gift, your anointing is going to shine a bright light. And that bright light, while it's a blessing and it draws crowds and draws people and draws popularity and fame and celebrity, it also draws mosquitoes. I say this all the time: the brighter the lights, the more bugs you attract, right? So so we have to be careful, and we have to constantly be in the people management business. We have to constantly manage the people that are coming in and out of our lives. And I talk about this a lot on my YouTube channel. So everybody, make sure you go to youtube.com/Delatorro, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because I talk about this conversation all the time. It's funny. Dr. Finance, I created a podcast 2 years ago called Crushing Life with Delatorro. And the whole purpose of the podcast was to help people develop 4 things in every episode: the mindset, the heart set, the skill set and the will set to live and lead an extraordinary quality of life right now, right? Let me back that up. Develop the mindset. You got to have the right mindset.
Love
If you
that
want
will
to,
set. That's great. I
yeah,
never heard that one before.
yeah, bro, right. You're catching it, right?
Yeah,
You have the
that's
right
good.
mindset. Then you got to have the right heart set. That's the emotional intelligence piece, right? I know a lot of people who are intellectually strong, emotionally it's not there. But once the mind and the heart, once the intellectual and the emotional are in alignment, then you got to have the skill set, the actual skills to be able to execute the thing that it is that you want to do. It's got to be really good at what it is that you want to do. Once you get clear that you're good at what you do, then you got to take it to that next step, which is you got to have the will set, right? Your I will has to be stronger than your IQ. The will set, the fortitude, the grit, fight, the hustle. Have you noticed, Dr. Finance, there is never a weekend workshop on willpower or fortitude or grit or determination? You've never seen one. You never will. Why? Either you have it or you don't.
And you're talking to the right guy about that. My my last book, The Survival of the Rich, is this thick. I connected finance to survival. That's what I'm known for, right? And so I had to dive deep on survivalism. And you know what I found out after studying some of the greatest survivors ever in humanity?
Wow.
And I listed all the things you need to survive, and a purpose to live and a will to live were at the top of that list more than anything. And a purpose, number one, and I can explain this without, I don't want to take your time away, but the will to live was so powerful, right? That like every one of those survivors needed that. And it didn't matter about their strength or their stamina. So to say
Yeah.
that you need will set, I mean, I'm interpreting from a scientific standpoint.
Yes, sir.
It's so true because we never practice that will. Like, how do we build that up, build that? And I got a question for you, by the way. We'll lean into it about inspiration and motivation. So, all right, to wrap this up, thank you, Delatorro. Appreciate you, man. To wrap this up, one last thing I want to say is I want to commend you on your story. It's just brilliant, and I just think like last part of your story is really a question. When is going to be the commencement for your Hall of Fame award? That's what I want to know. When you're going to be the next Hall of Fame speaker? We already know you should be, but like,
Oh man,
when can it happen?
I have no earthly clue, man. I don't know when that moment is coming, man. That's not up to me to decide. So
Can
I've
you
got.
invite me though? Because I'm going to be on stage and be like, yo, I already said this 20 years ago.
Well, thank you, man. That means a lot. I have no clue when the Hall of Fame is going to happen. It's the Hall of Fame is literally it's the highest award you can receive in the speaking industry, and it's bestowed upon you by people who are already in it. And it's called the Council of Peers Award of Excellence. I have no clue when that moment is going to happen for me, but I am grateful. And my goal is to just align myself with continuing to show up and be the best, be excellent at what it is that I do. And I believe that at the right time, that those doors are going to fly open for us, man.
Would you say, sorry to interrupt you, would you say the past, let's say year and a half would have been exponentially, even though you're already doing great things 10 years ago, 20 years ago, would you say the past year and a half is what has exponentially catapulted you to where you're at now? Because
Yeah,
you've really blown up the past year.
yeah, man. I'd say the last probably 2.5 years, actually. I'd say, what we did pre-COVID and then thriving through COVID and then coming out of COVID. Yeah, I'd say the last 4 years, man, have been really pivotal for our success because our conferences were kicking butt and taking names. We were doing all of our events on full tilt. COVID hit and it didn't slow us down. We actually transitioned everything over to virtual. And while a lot of my colleagues ended up not even being able to stay around in the industry, I'm grateful that we were able to thrive in spite of all of those challenges and continue to kick butt and take names, which was really, really incredible. So, and then once the book came out and the book opened up a lot of doors, the book, put us in a lot of different arenas. But I will say this, right? While the last, I'd say 4 years has been really amazing, you can't just take it at that, right? Because there was so much foundation that was laid. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, and so the speaker that I am today started 20 years ago, right? So it's like it's been a buildup, right? It's been that, and so I'm grateful, man. I'm very, very grateful. I'm very excited, and that goes back to the point, right? It's like some of the biggest wins have happened since my mom's been gone, and so it's, man, I just wish that I could share these things with her because she spent so much of her life cultivating, that gift and that talent inside of us. So I'm just grateful, man, and I believe in leading with humility. That's also what's important to me. I'm the same Dr. Delatorro, whether I'm on the Today Show or I'm walking through CVS, or whether I'm, at the fairgrounds with my daughters or roller coasters, or if you see me in the airport, I'm the same dude. And so I think it's important that we lead with humility. And one of my mentors, his name was Dr. Lee Jones. He taught me this at Florida State. He said, nothing is ever as good or as bad as it first appears. It's usually somewhere in the middle. And what that taught me was to always remain just stable. Don't let good news overly impress you, so that bad news doesn't depress you. Say that again. Don't let good news overly impress you, so that bad news doesn't easily depress you. Stay even keeled. If you have a $100,000 month, say praise God. If you have a $5,000 month, praise God. It's all business. It's all entrepreneurship. You're gonna have up and down months. It just is what it is. And so, so for me, I just stay in that place of gratitude every single day, bro. It's right here. Every single freaking day, I get up first thing in the morning and I write in a gratitude journal. I write what I'm grateful for. I write I am statements. I am powerful. I am strong. I am enough. I am desired. I'm booked and busy. I'm relaxed. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my daughters, grateful for my clients, grateful for my friends. Every day I write in this journal. And excuse me. Thank you.
Did you say Dr. Finance on that last page? I was looking.
You saw it, right? Yeah. I knew today's interview was like, I said, boom, I'm grateful for my brother from another mother. For Dr. Finance.
I was just joking. I couldn't see that far, but for real.
It is. It's in there, brother. So, because I believe in, see our mind, listen, everybody, your mind is just like a radio. Whatever station you tune it to is the frequency you receive. If you want to hear country music, turn a radio to country, it's going to come out. If you want to hear R&B, turn that radio to R&B station, nothing but R&B is going to come out. So if that's the case, and if the mind works the same way, if I tune my mind to negativity and what's not working, every song that's going to play all day long is negativity and what's not working, because that's a station that I chose. The moment I choose a different station, different music comes out. So choose gratitude, choose joy, choose power, choose abundance, choose wealth.
I love your message, man. A lot of people need you. Not a lot. People, everybody. Seriously. And I know you talked about cloning and stuff, like there's a lot, if you're two of the same people, then you've one too many. But the reality is, you can look at it another way. If you had 8 billion folks that are like yourself, with that kind of leadership, this world, the problems would be solved. We only need 1,000, really. All right, Delatorro, appreciate you, man. We're going to move into the next segment. So, folks, I get to ask, this is the benefits of having a great podcast. I get to ask great leaders like yourself questions. So, first question I have is not really a question, it's about your books. So I know you've hinted at them during the course of the interview so far, but maybe in about a minute, can you share just an overview of your books? You got 8 books out there, the names, and anything you want to add?
Absolutely, brother. So my latest book, man, is the book I'm so incredibly proud of. This is book number 8. It's called Shift into a Higher Gear, Better Your Best and Live Life to the Fullest. This book was published by Barrett Kohler and Penguin Random House. And I'm so incredibly excited about this book. It's available everywhere books are sold. Been endorsed by some of the greatest on the planet, from Michael Beckwith to Darius Daniels to Les Brown to Dr. Shirley Davis. Tons of amazing folks. You can grab the book anywhere books are sold.
Brian Tracy too, I think, right?
Brian Tracy wrote the foreword to the book. So Brian Tracy
is coming up in a few weeks. I can't wait.
Yes, he's absolutely remarkable. At the same time that we produced the book, we also produced the workbook. This is a 140-page journal / activity guide / exercise guide, and it's instructionally designed. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. And it really takes the concepts and the principles from the book, and it goes much deeper. You can go to shiftintoahighergear.com. That's shiftintoahighergear.com to pick up a copy of the workbook as well. And we also created an online course about the book, which is really incredible. And so we're really excited about that. So that's our latest book, Shift into a Higher Gear. Absolutely incredible. Several other books that are on Amazon that you can pick up is Platinum Presentations, 52 Tips to Speak with Confidence, Win Your Audience, and Grow Your Bank Account. That book came out in 2000. That book came, or do I have a copy? I don't have that one with me. Dang it. That book came out in 2017 when Warren Buffett went on record to say that public speaking was the most important business course he ever took and the most
Really?
important skill he ever developed. And so I realized that I never wrote a book about the skill that I use every day. So I decided to write a book about presentation skills. And so that's called Platinum Presentations. You can find that on Amazon and Audible. And in fact, all of our big books are on Audible as well, including Shifting to a Higher Gear. And then another great book that we wrote is called Caught Between a Dream and a Job, How to Leave the 9-to-5 Behind and Step into the Life That You've Always Wanted. That book came out in 2008. Incredible book that teaches people how to shift out of job living and shift into dream living. So amazing stuff, man. We've been really, really excited to produce this incredible content that's been such a blessing to so many people all over the world.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Delatorro. Next question ties into that book you just showed us. So what is it with this motorcycle stuff? I want to ask why do you like to ride motorcycles? And by the way, before you answer that question, I got two people I got to introduce you to. You might already know them, but Sherry Matthews, she was a guest here, incredible cancerpreneur. She'll be on stage probably on Friday. You'll meet her.
Okay.
And then you'll like this, Jim Cathcart. So this is the benefits of knowing all these people. Do you know Jim Cathcart, right?
Of course, man.
Oh
Jim Cathcart and I are good buddies. We're in the National Speakers Association together. I love him very dearly.
Did you know he was a motorcycle rider?
I sure did. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, because he's huge on that. And I was going to say, like, you guys should definitely connect at that level.
We need to do something together. Actually, I'm going to text him after this broadcast. We need to do something together.
I'm going to ask him to stop by tomorrow night because I think that would be really cool.
That would be incredible. Yeah, Jim is amazing. He spoke at a conference recently called EdgeCon, and the founder of the conference actually is someone who I've mentored. And so a lot of the speakers that spoke at the conference were referencing me as a part of their speaker development. And so developing into their speaking careers and stuff like that. And so Jim was like, bro, he's like, everybody at this conference is talking about you. So it was a good, he's amazing. But so here's the thing. So I believe that cars are cool, trucks are cool, motorcycles are way cooler, because I believe that we have to learn to live life the bike way. Because when we learn to live life and do business the bike way, it's just 10 times more powerful. For example, so my book is not about motorcycle, just to be clear. While I'm on the cover on a motorcycle, the book isn't necessarily about motorcycle riding. Motorcycle riding is the backdrop. The purpose of the book and the focus of the book is about helping you learn how to shift. And the word shift is defined as to move or cause to move from one place to another, especially over a small distance. Now, the reason why that's so important, Dr. Finance, is because the truth is change is processed as negative to the brain. I'm gonna say that again. The brain processes change initially off rip as a negative. Why? Because the brain loves certainty. The brain loves a guarantee, right? So most times when we're changing something, we're finding, okay, think about it. Whenever you were in school, right, and you got used to your teacher, even if you didn't like your teacher, as soon as your teacher said, we got a new teacher coming in, you're like, oh, no, why? Ooh. You hadn't even met the teacher yet, right? But your brain, off a rip, we tend to process change as a negative because we get used to certainty. We get used to what we can bank on, what we can know, what we can count on. So when there's a change, it's like, oh man, I wasn't quite expecting that. So since the brain doesn't really like change until we can wrap our mind around it, shift feels a whole lot easier. So each chapter in the book starts with the action verb shift. And what we're able to do is we're able to show people how to make small shifts that will make a massive difference in their life. And so motorcycles are something that most people needlessly fear, right? And when you ask those people, hey, do you ride? They're like, no, I don't ride. Why don't you ride? They say, I'm afraid. So let me ask you this question, Dr. Finance. If the number one reason why a person does not ride is not because they can't ride or don't think it's cool to ride, but because they're afraid to ride, then are you living your dreams or are you really living your fears? Most people are living their fears because it's not the mechanics of it. It's not the road. It's not any of that stuff. It's the fact that they're afraid. So one of the things when I teach this concept, I have my motorcycle live on stage, and I said, this motorcycle is nothing but a metaphor of something else that you've needlessly feared your whole life. Needlessly feared your whole life. Do you want to be careful on a motorcycle? Yes. Do you want to be cautious? Do you want to drive defensively? All that. But freaking ride. It's amazing. It's an incredible experience. It's the vitality, the energy, the rush, the thrill, the excitement, the freedom. All that's absolutely incredible. And what I love about motorcycle riding, which is so much different than being in an automobile, is that in an automobile, if you want to change direction, you got to turn the steering wheel left or right, right? Right. Motorcycle, you don't have to do any of that. On a motorcycle, all you have to do is lean. And when you lean, the motorcycle is taking 100% of its direction from your intention. And a motorcycle knows your intention based upon where you put your weight. So if you lean left, the motorcycle goes left. If you lean right, it goes right. You don't have to do any turning and you ain't gonna do none of that stuff. You just lean. So the question becomes, what things are we willing to lean into? And what people are we willing to lean into, right? Because when we lean into that thing, the bike life business goes into the direction that we lean into, right? And so that's what I love about the motorcycle metaphor, man. And the book is pregnant with over 40 different metaphors about life and business and how they parallel directly to motorcycle riding. It's incredible, man.
Wow. Thank you so much. I love it. I love it, man. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna bring out the motorcycle club on Friday.
Let's get it. Let's get it, bro. Let's do it. Let's do it, friend.
All right. Thank you, Delatorro. All right. So Delatorro, next question. We'll figure about 30 seconds to a minute to each question.
Okay, got it. Sorry about that.
Let's see, because I got about 20 questions, and I could save some of them for tomorrow night, folks. If you're listening to this 1,000 years in the future, sorry, but tomorrow, June 9th, he'll be on Clubhouse. We'll all be on Clubhouse. And I'm actually trying something new. I'll tell you about it if you show up on Twitter Spaces. So June 9th at between 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. Now, my next question for you is an interesting one. I want to know, so you have a patent on your laugh, okay? So I don't even want to call it a laugh. It's like an intro laugh, right? You laugh, you make this noise, and then you laugh, right?
Right.
So can you tell us a little about this laugh, maybe a minute or less, and then some variations? I'd love to hear if there's a variation of this laugh. We might make a rap video.
Oh my gosh. So true story. So my mom used to have this utterance. Whenever she thought something was funny, she would do this like kind of a thing. It was like she was excited. Something was funny to her. She was having fun with it. And I promise you, I thought that it was just a her thing. And so I just let her run with that. Probably about 3 years ago, somehow it kind of jumped on me. Now, my mom's been gone 10 years. And so about 3 years, that little kind of started jumping on me. And now that's my new thing. It's like when I get excited about something, when I get pumped about something, I'm just like, man, I was like, this is so good. And I'll say something, and I'm like, ugh. Good God have mercy, right? And then Les tries to impersonate. He's like, I can't get that.
You know, when that interview was over, sorry to interrupt you. When that interview was over, he sat there for 10 minutes still trying to imitate that thing.
He was like,
I can't do it.
But yeah, man. So that's where it comes from. So that came from Olivia, man. I heard her do that for decades, and I thought that was just a her thing. So when she passed, I was like, okay, that is gone. But her spirit is just all over me, man. So it's kind of come back in the last 3 years, and now people kind of know me for it. So
thanks, Delatorro. He hasn't given you the full version, folks. He's giving you the miniature version. It's got to come out naturally. So listen through the rest of this interview, and we'll get one out of him by the end of the show.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Delatorro. All right, so Delatorro, what's the difference between a hunger versus a craving?
Do not even ask me that, bro. Not allowed.
You sure you don't want to extend this interview?
Not allowed, bro. All right, so Les Brown goes on record for saying, he's like, Dr. Delatorro is the only speaker on the planet that I will not speak after. And the reason why Les Brown says that is because we did a Motivational Monday event years ago. And I said, okay, Les, I got this concept that I want to teach, but I'm going to need you to go first, because if I go first, it's going to kind of mess up your speech after mine. He's like, man, well, do you know who I am? I'm Les Brown. Man, people come to see me. Hush your mouth, boy. You better go first. You always open for me. I said, all right, Les, got you. So I went first, and the name of my program was called From a Hunger to a Craving. And man, for like 30 minutes, I broke down the difference between hunger and cravings. And I taught about how hunger is general, but a craving is specific. And I said, so being hungry for something is not enough, right? Because if you've had a long day at work and you get in my car, you say, hey, Dr. Delatorro, I'm hungry. I can take you literally anywhere. I can stop you at 7-Eleven and get you a bean burrito that we microwave, and I can get you something hideous like that. Doesn't matter, right? I can get you anything to satisfy your hunger, because hunger is general. But if you say, Dr. Delatorro, I just got off the plane, I'd really love to go to Ruth Chris and get one of their medium well filet mignons, butterfly cut with some sauteed spinach and sweet potato casserole. That's specific. And once you get that specific, you've gone from a hunger to a craving. I'm craving Ruth Chris. I can take you to only one restaurant in Tampa. I can take you to, and you can only order that one thing. It's got to come out that specific way. So the more we have a craving for the things that we want, cravings are 10 times more powerful than hunger. When a woman is pregnant and she wants a specific type of ice cream, my mom used to have a craving for Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors, right? Butter pecan, hand-packed ice cream. It had to be butter pecan, and they had to pack it like by hand. She didn't want none of that previously frozen, none of that. You had to go, stand in line, wait for the person to pull out the scooper, scoop it up, whatever. If I brought my mom home anything other than that, it was a fight. It was not well. And my mom would make me go back to the store and get what she asked for the first time, because she had a craving for that specific ice cream. To this day, I love butter pecan ice cream. What's the point? Hunger is good, but hunger is general. A craving is specific. And if we're really going to achieve our goals and dreams, we've got to be more specific about the things that we want. Because as long as you just say, I want someone to love me, that's general. As long as you say, I just want someone to care about me, that's general. I just want a job, that's general. I just want to make money, that's general. I want to be wealthy, that's general. And any type of wealth, any kind of relationship, anything will satisfy you if all you care about is the hunger. But when you care about the craving, you become particular, you become intentional, you become calculated, strategic, and you become discerning, and you turn down a lot of things because it's not what you really want. If you want your ideal relationship romantically, have a craving for what that thing is. If you want your marriage to thrive, have a craving for a thriving, hot, sexy, fun, adventuresome marriage. If you want a better life with your kids, crave not just being your kid's parent, but being, I'm my daughter's mentor, I'm my daughter's therapist, I'm their coach, I'm their friend. I believe in really having multiple roles in my daughter's lives, which is great. Sometimes we talk about dating and boyfriends, and sometimes we talk about gun ranges and shooting, and sometimes we talk about, political aspirations, and sometimes we talk about academics and scholarships, and sometimes we talk about, it just runs the gamut, like the latest pop show that's on TV, right? So I think we have to have a craving for the things that we want versus hunger, and we'll get the cravings because we're specific and we're intentional. When you're hungry, you're just kind of whimsical, but when you're craving, you're intentional. I know that was way more than 30 seconds, but you knew that was going to be longer when you asked the question. So it was a setup from the beginning. So leave me
That was a brilliant response. Speaking of Les Brown, if you could tell us a little about Les being your mentor. How does it feel to be mentored by such a great speaker? So maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah. So Les has been one of the greatest mentors. I mean, just a hallmark. He says more in one sentence than most people say in a day, and truly, and he can tell you one thing that takes you 3 years to pull off, and I just love him dearly. My goal is to make him proud every day. And I know I'm making Les proud when I call him and he says, "Man, I just want to punch you." I just want to slash your tires in the parking lot. I'm coming for you.
He said he was looking for your knees. Is that what he said?
I'm looking for your kneecaps. That's what I know, that I'm making my mentor proud. So I love him dearly. I love Dr. Willie Jolly dearly. They both literally tag teamed and mentored me together at a really, really critical early part in my career. And to this day, I can call either of them at 3 a.m. in the morning. They'll pick up my phone call. And they both mean tremendous amounts to me. So I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Is it better to motivate or inspire someone? I know you're a motivational speaker, but we've had some disagreements on some of the folks that came here. Some of them look at it a different way. They figure that motivation is kind of useless, because if you can inspire somebody, then you don't have to motivate them. But I'd love to hear your thoughts.
You know what? I think it's 6 and 1, half a dozen the other. I think because there's even people that say inspiration is not enough. There's people who say motivation is not enough. I believe in drive. I believe in discipline. I believe in consistency. I believe in habit. I think habit, drive, consistency, determination, discipline. I think those things are going to last longer. I do agree that motivation is necessary. It's intentional. It moves the needle, but I think the bedrock, the foundation under which motivation sustains itself, right? So a lot of us are taught wrong about motivation. So I've studied a lot about motivational psychology, and most people think that motivation is the cause of action. Things were racially motivated or financially motivated, right? They think it's the cause of action, but the true nature of motivation is to also be the result of action. And what I mean by that is there's been plenty of times when you get up in the morning, you don't feel like working out, right? But you go anyway. And 10 or 15 minutes into the workout, you feel like working out. So motivation was not the cause of you getting, you weren't motivated to go to the gym. Once you got to the gym and you were there for 20 minutes, then you felt like being there. It was the result of your action, not necessarily the cause of action. So I think so it takes discipline, fortitude to get to a place where then motivation can sometimes kick in. So motivation could show up on both sides. So I believe that we need all of it. One thing about me is I'm not really an either or person. I'm a both and person. I firmly believe in the law of polarity. I firmly believe in the law of duality. I firmly believe in dialectical thinking. Two opposing things can coexist simultaneously. So as long as there's day, there's night. As long as there's up, there's down. As long as there's left, there's right. Because left is there does not mean that right does not exist. Because it's nighttime does not mean that day does not exist. They coexist simultaneously. They're opposites, but they coexist simultaneously. So I think the more we can think, instead of saying motivation or inspiration, instead of saying that, I think we should embrace the fact that they both are necessary and essential for the role that they play. Just like habit is a good thing, but habit is a blessing and a curse. Everybody says, oh, just have a habit. Well, what if the habit is deadly? What if the habit is toxic? What if the habit is, you know what I'm saying? People say persistence is the key. That's bullshit. We've all seen a mosquito or a fly pound its head up against our sliding glass door trying to get out. Pounding your head up against that sliding glass door is only going to make you die faster. It's not the answer. Being persistent in the wrong direction is not the answer. So you could take any motivational concept and find flaws in it. So that's why we can't think so one-dimensionally. We've got to learn how to think three-dimensionally, which speaks to another chapter in the book. One of the things that I really love about the book is we talk about in chapter 2.
Wait. Hold on before you go there. That's one of my questions. How to live a long life.
There it goes.
Go ahead. Go for it. You're taking my questions, man.
Yeah. You're skipping over my questions. I'm sorry, brother. But yeah, so one of the things that I believe is that most of us celebrate profound. I'm gonna do a TED talk on this. So sickening. Watch this. We celebrate length of years. We celebrate birthdays. Every time someone has a birthday, we say, oh, happy birthday. We give them cakes, balloons, we give them cash out, whatever. But birthdays is really only one dimension of living. It's length of years. And we assume that because someone lived a long time, that they lived full. And that couldn't be further from the truth. When was the last time someone came up to you and said, happy width day, Dr. Finance? Happy depth day, Dr. Finance? Never happens. Why? Because we were not taught to celebrate how wide someone lives or how deep someone lives. Well, Dr. Delatorro, what do you mean by that? I'm so glad you asked. Someone works for 40 years for the same company. We say, oh my God, they had a full career. Well, not if you were a jerk for 40 years, not if you never hung out with your coworkers after work for 40 years, not if you were a pain in the butt and you never evolved from that same position for 40 years. You just did the same thing every day for 40 years. Yeah, you lived long, but you didn't live wide and you didn't live deep. You didn't broaden your skill set by learning multiple different departments, multiple different skills and talents. You didn't deepen your relationship with your coworkers and colleagues by mentoring other new people who join the company and getting cross-trained in different departments and different skill sets and being a part of the team retreat and volunteering to sit on the board, et cetera, et cetera. So you didn't live wide and you didn't live deep. See, when people live three-dimensionally, they don't have to live to be 150 to make a worldwide impact. Let me ask you this question. What is the common denominator, Dr. Finance, between Bruce Lee, Bob Marley, Chris Farley, Aaliyah, Princess Diana, right? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the personhood of Jesus Christ, Malcolm X? None of these individuals, none of them lived beyond the age of 40 years old. But they changed human history. Why? Because they lived 3D. They didn't live to 100, but because they lived wide and deep in their expertise and their skill set, they changed human history because of the impact that they made. And we can
Delatorro,
have
sorry, man. I had that question wrote down because I never heard that concept the way you put it. 3D living. And I looked like less in that picture when you talked about it in that video. I had the same expression. I was like,
yeah.
what?
What
Like that was so brilliant, so smart, and so well thought out to lead with that example of all those people under 40 that have died, and yet they live. Think about it. I mean, there's people who have lived, the centenarians, they call them, live over 100 years. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But what have you done? Did you
That
sit in
part.
a chair on a stoop for 100 years and do
That's it.
nothing?
And see, that leads to my next this leads to my other brother, the Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, who's the lead.
The Secret.
Yes, The Secret, and he's the lead spiritual leader of the
Humanities
Agape
team.
Center in the Agape Center in Los Angeles,
Okay.
as well as he's a lead facilitator at Rhythmia in Costa Rica. Absolutely brilliant, remarkable leader, influencer, global icon. Adore this man. Every time I text him, I say, teacher, great mentor. How are you? Anyway, he said this powerful. He said, you can live 100 years, or you can live 1 year 100 times. He said, you can live 100 years, or you can live 1 year 100 times. I want us to live 100 full years, 100 3D years, versus living that same year with that same mindset, same friends, same circle, same income, same negative beliefs, same toxicity, but you live that 1 year 100 times. And that's what most people do. They live 1 year 100 times versus living 100 powerful years.
So take it back to Les Brown. Sorry to interrupt. Take it back to Les Brown. What he always says, you're dead at, most people are dead at 25. I think he says, right?
Yeah, they don't get buried till they're 70. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It ties right in what you're saying, right?
Exactly. And so watch this, which speaks to the next notion, which is one of the things that we talked about in the book, Shifting to Our Higher Gears, is that do you know that according to the United Nations, the average international life expectancy is 72.6 years. 72.6 years old is the international life expectancy globally. So 72.6 minus your age right now tells you one powerful thing. Tells you how many freaking summers you got left. And the question is, are we going to live those summers to the fullest, man? We ain't got time to play around no more. It's time to live. It's time to enjoy life and live life to the fullest.
Beautifully said.
Yeah,
thank you, Delatorro. Appreciate that, man. By the way, I love that topic so much. I might make the stage named after that tomorrow.
Come on.
Just saying.
Now you changing up stuff, man. You changing up stuff.
Yeah, I gave you a day's notice. All right. Thank you, Delatorro. All right, real quick, tips on being a great speaker. Maybe in 20, 30 seconds, what's your top 2 or 3 tips on being a great speaker?
Develop your own content. R&D used to stand for research and development. Now it stands for rip off and duplicate, because most people don't take the time to create their own content. And the truth is, the world knows what the greats believe. The world knows what Dr. Delatorro believes, and Tony Robbins believes, and Mel Robbins believes, and Marie Forleo believes. We need to know what you believe. So start creating your own content. That's number 1. Number 2, find someone in the industry that you admire and respect, and literally sit your butt down like Danielson and learn from the master, whoever she is, whoever he is. Find someone whose path you respect in this industry and sit under them. Go to every class, go to every workshop, boot camp training, masterclass, whatever. Pay to put yourself in proximity to people who have done what you're trying to do, and you'll get there 10 times faster. Third tip is stop speaking and start serving. When I get on stage, when I get on a podcast like this, I don't show up to speak. I don't show up to be articulate. I show up to serve. I came to donate 2 hours of my life to serve this podcast. And because I showed up to serve, I didn't show up with nerves.
That's true.
Because I showed up to serve, I didn't show up with nerves. I wasn't nervous. My daughters asked me, "Hey, Daddy, you ready? Are you nervous about the podcast?" I said, "No," because I'm showing up to serve. And when I show up to serve, I don't have nerves. When was the last time you got nervous when you donated time to a food kitchen, or donated time to clean up at your local church, synagogue, mosque, or spiritual campus? When was the last time you were nervous when you went to donate time to Make-A-Wish Foundation or whatever? You don't show up there nervous. Why? Because you're there to serve. You're there to give. When you get on that stage, when you get in front of that camera lens, show up to serve, show up to give, and the nerves will disappear.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Delatorro, which leads to the next point. Next question is, how important is it for a great speaker to have a great host? Now, I want to preface this question, and this goes back to what you were talking about earlier. You're talking about some of the things that you're picked for. God calls you, and He qualifies you, right?
Qualifies the
I,
call.
I
Yep.
didn't. I didn't want to be a host. I didn't want to be a host on stage. I didn't even know what MC was the first day I launched the longest running room in Clubhouse. And someone the next day texted me, "You're a great MC." I'm like, "I'm not a rapper. What do you mean?"
Right. Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make was, and Tim Story had said this too. By the way, being on this podcast, man, you get to be referenced in future episodes. So I'm constantly promoting you. Just letting you know, Tim Story was
Oh,
a former guest.
he's
So
amazing. That's my brother. That's my friend. Tell him I said hello.
So my point about like having a question that I want to hear your response is having a great speaker, because I play both roles every Friday night, but I realize I can't always be I can't be both of them at the same time. I got to be one or the other. The reason most people failed on Clubhouse is because they tried to be a speaker and a host. They needed somebody else. But
Right.
what do you think though? What's your thoughts on that?
I 5,000,000% agree. I think they're different skill sets, and I think they're both essential. They're crucial for next level development. And I think we have to get clear about what again, inch wide, mile deep. You got to get really clear about what your skill set is. And the more you have a quality host, a quality MC who can facilitate the dialogue and the conversation, it allows you to stay in your area of genius, stay in your lane, and kick butt and take names. And that's really what it's all about. So
You agree, though, right?
I totally agree with the importance of having a host. And man, this has been an incredible interview. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Delatorro. I appreciate you, man. I wasn't trying to fish for compliments. I just
No,
wanted to know your perspective being such
you're
a great
remarkable,
speaker.
bro. I mean that. You're incredible at what you do, bro. It shines through. It really, really does.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Can someone be the right package but delivered to the wrong door?
Absolutely. You can be a whole package. Come on, somebody. You can be a whole package delivered to the wrong address, and you will be mishandled, right? So that's why it's important that we know kind of what we were talking about earlier. We got to know like what makes us unique, special, and different. And once we get clear about what makes us unique, special, and different, we've got to be clear that we put ourselves in the hands of someone who will handle us with care. Our gifts, our talents, our anointings, our callings, those things have to be handled with care. So you got to make sure that you only let the right people around you who support and cultivate you. That's really, really crucial. Yeah.
Thanks, Delatorro. Delatorro, we're moving into the next phase of questions where I've asked everyone on this podcast, including your Les Brown. It's fast though. So you ready? We're going to do super fast. We got 10 questions. We'll do 10 seconds each.
Okay.
You ready? All right, let's roll. All right. So can one book change the world? 10 seconds.
Yes, one book can change the world. It's called Shift into a Higher Gear. Better your best and live life to the fullest.
I love it. See, I set you up for that, right? I'm a great host. I teed you up for that question.
That was great.
All right. Is mentoring important? I'm sorry. What role has networking played in your life?
50% of the people responsible for your next level of success you haven't met yet. So you got to get out there and network.
Thank you. As an extension to that question, is mentoring important? And who are some of your mentors? I know you mentioned Les Brown already.
Two of the greatest. There's two ways to get wisdom in life: mistakes or mentors. Either you could bump your head a zillion times, or you can find the right mentors who've already done it, and you can follow their path. Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Dr. Willie Jolly, Zig Ziglar, Dr. Maya Angelou, all have been incredible mentors. Dr. Lee Jones, incredible mentors in my life. Bishop T.D. Jakes, remarkable mentor. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, the list goes on and on. Remarkable people who've played huge roles in my life.
What are your favorite?
Oh, Jesus have mercy. Dr. Miles Monroe, got to mention him.
What's his name?
Dr. Miles Monroe.
Oh, Miles Monroe. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
What are your favorite financial books? And when I say finance, I'm talking about investing, money, business, anything related to that.
One of my favorites, there's so many, but one of my favorites is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T.R. Vecker. That book taught me about the financial thermostat, which is so powerful, and that concept and how important it is for us to really get clear about the limiting beliefs we have about how much money we can generate and how much money we can earn. And when we change our financial thermostat, how we can literally go from what Bob Proctor calls our annual income and make our annual income our monthly income. And that's what makes it really funky.
Yeah. Do we need money to survive?
There's a lot of instances in life where money won't help you. right? Money answers all things. We get that. But there's a lot of situations where it's not even about the money. So I think money's important. It's crucial. It's necessary. Money gives you options. But I think family, love, experiences, all those things you can do, and you don't have to have $1 million. So I think money's great. It's awesome. But I think love, family, connection, trust, interdependence, those are things that money can't buy.
You need it to
Health,
pay the bills, though.
that part, absolutely, of course you do. 5
Now,
million.
it sounds like a common sense question, but it's not a common sense response. And
Yeah,
most people don't think that in that terms. They have to think a little deeper. So, and some argue that it's not necessary.
Oh
So
my gosh, no, money's absolutely positively. Money is like oxygen, right? You don't think you need it, try not having any, right? You definitely need money, right? To do pretty much anything. The toilet won't flush without money, right? You need money, hello, right? The lights won't turn on without money. You need money, you need finances. That's why I said make a difference in a dollar at the same time. You need them both, right? So crucial.
is finance necessary for everyone? The science of finance. 10 seconds.
Absolutely. The science of finance is essential because what is money if you can't manage it? What is money if you can't matriculate it? What is money if you can't invest it? What is money if you can't hold on to it? What is money if you don't know how the ins and outs of it, how to cycle money, how to make it work for your behalf, how to make it work in your absence, how do you make it work when? So I think finance and think about it. We wouldn't live in the houses that we live in, drive the cars we drive, or take the vacations we take without finance, right? So we have to learn the money dance, and finance is the money dance.
Thank you, Delatorro. 3 questions left. You're doing great. All right, Dr. Delatorro, next question. How important is purpose in a business, and what is your purpose? It's actually 2 questions.
So I think purpose is crucial. I think, at the end of the day, profit is great, but when you can profit doing what you love, it just makes it 10 times better. So I think every business needs to be led with a sense of purpose and intention. I think intention gets attention. So the more we can get clear about what our intention is, it helps us to attract the attention of the right customers. So that's what I think. And the purpose of my business is to be a transformational agent around the world to help as many people as possible live life to the fullest by getting 1% better every day.
That's beautiful. Thank you. 2 questions left, Dr. Delatorro. What would you like to do in the next 10 years or so? Why? Maybe movies, Hall of Fame, speaker award.
All that. Yeah, all of this. Yes to all that. I definitely want to pivot into entertainment. Definitely want to do movies, want to do hosting, want to do way more television, travel for fun more. I've traveled for 20 years for business. I definitely want to travel for fun more. Continue to raise my daughters and just do more philanthropy, being more of a global ambassador in certain arenas. So I'm really, really excited about taking a lot of those things to the next level over the next 10 years.
And last question, what would you like to leave as your legacy to the world?
That this dude came and left his mark. He changed the world, one audience, one life at a time. And he was incredible at what it is that he did. And he was proof of the fact that you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to have drive and desire to become one of the best, and you can become whatever you choose.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorro. I appreciate you for being here. So honored to have you here, man. I just want to say thank you so much. I can't wait to interview folks June 9th, tomorrow, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time on Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, possibly. First time. I can't wait to have you here, but I want to leave the floor to you. Anything you want to say before we close out this amazing interview? Thank you again, sir.
Super excited about this opportunity for people to be able to grow and go to the next level. We're really grateful. Again, we'd love to continue to work with you and help you live your life to the fullest, and all the resources that we've mentioned. Please take full advantage of those. Find us everywhere on social media at Dr. Delatorro, and we would love to continue to pour into you and take you to the next level. Let's do it together, family. God bless you guys.
All right. And what's your website?
Website is delatorro.com. Delatorro. Delatorro.com is our website. And yeah, we're just excited about the ability to serve people at the highest level possible using the gifts and talents that he's given us.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorro. Appreciate you. If you can wait for me just one moment out in the green room, I want to thank everyone for being here. I'm going to close out here. Dr. Anthony Criniti IV, also known as Dr. Finance. You've been listening to the Dr. Finance Live podcast. Here's the website, folks, drfinance.info. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. And also, we're going to blast this out to YouTube and 20+ major podcast directories. Here's 3 books if you want to learn more about finance. I wrote this book over 10 years ago as a finance student, for my finance students as a professor. The Necessity of Finance, then the most important lessons in economics and finance, and finally, the survival of the richest. Folks, appreciate you guys being here. I can't wait to see you again on the next episode. Thank you, Dr. Delatorro.
Thanks so much. Wanted to let everybody know, if they text the word crush to 415-528-7403. Text the word crush to 415-528-7403. We got a special gift to give to everybody for tuning in today, for supporting, for hanging out with us. It'll bless your life. It'll bless your speaking career. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Delatorro. I appreciate you. Are you sure you want to share your personal cell phone? I mean, you're going to be getting a lot of calls today.
No,
See,
man,
we got that laugh out of you. We got it. We finally got it.
I love it. No, man, we're good to go, man. I appreciate you so much, man. Thanks so much for everything.
Thanks, Delatorro. All right, folks, hang in here, and we'll see you on the next episode.